The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, crackling through every radio frequency on Earth simultaneously. Ambassador Veltar of the Galactic Confederation had expected the primitive species to react with wonder, perhaps fear, but certainly submission. To their obvious technological superiority, he had not expected laughter. "Greetings, inhabitants of the third planet," Veltar had announced from his flagship hovering beyond Earth's moon. "We are the Galactic Confederation, rulers of 10,000 worlds. You will join our empire as a tributary species. Prepare for integration." The response came from a gruff voice identifying himself as General Marcus Kane, speaking for something called the United Earth Defense Command. "Yeah, that's going to be a no from us, bug boy. Try again in a few centuries when we're feeling more sociable." Veltar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. No species had ever dismissed the Confederation so casually. Most civilizations either surrendered immediately or launched futile attacks that were easily crushed. This casual dismissal was unprecedented. "Perhaps you misunderstand," Veltar replied. "We possess weapons that can shatter planets. Our fleets number in the millions. Resistance is futile." "Cute," came Kane's voice. "Tell you what, send down your best shot. We'll show you how we handle uninvited guests." 3 hours later, Veltar deployed a standard pacification force to Earth's largest landmass. 500 ships, each capable of leveling a city, descended through the atmosphere with practiced precision. The humans would surrender within minutes, as all species did when faced with overwhelming force. The first ship to enter the atmosphere simply vanished. No explosion, no debris, just gone. Veltar's tactical officer, Commander Thex, stared at his instruments in confusion. "Energy signature unlike anything in our databases," Thex reported. "It appears the humans somehow converted the ship's matter into pure energy." Before Veltar could respond, another ship disappeared. Then another. Within an hour, his entire pacification force had been systematically eliminated by weapons that shouldn't exist on a planet that had barely achieved faster than light. Communication. "Impressive." Kane's voice crackled over the comm. "Haven't had target practice that entertaining since the Mars Rebellion? You boys got any more ships you want to donate to our weapons testing program?" Veltar retreated beyond the moon and called for reinforcements. The Confederation's Third Fleet arrived within a week, bringing with them the Empire's most advanced weapons and Admiral Orcs, veteran of 100 conquered worlds. "One primitive planet," Orcs sneered. "This is embarrassing, Veltar. Watch how a real admiral handles upstart species." The Third Fleet's assault began at dawn. Orbital bombardment cannons, capable of cracking continents, fired simultaneously at Earth's major population centers. The beams of concentrated plasma struck the planet's atmosphere and simply stopped, as if hitting an invisible wall. "Planetary shields," Thex observed, "but the energy requirements should be impossible for their technology level." The humans. Counterattack came swiftly. Missiles launched from Earth's surface, moving at impossible speeds and somehow ignoring the laws of physics. They curved around the fleet's shields, phased through solid armor, and detonated inside ship hulls with pinpoint precision. In 20 minutes, the Third Fleet was reduced to floating debris. "Thanks for the scrap metal," Kane transmitted cheerfully. "We'll put it to good use. Oh, and tell your bosses we're coming to visit real soon." Admiral Corks's final transmission before his flagship exploded was a single word: run. Back on the Confederation homeworld of Nexus Prime, the High Council convened in emergency session. Never in the Empire's 10,000-year history had a single world destroyed 2 fleets so effortlessly. "Deploy the Dreadnought Fleet," ordered Supreme Chancellor Vox. "Every ship in the Armada. This ends now." The mightiest force in galactic history assembled at the edge of Earth's solar system. 10,000 ships, each the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons that had brought entire star systems to heel. Surely no single planet could stand against such overwhelming might. The humans were waiting for them. Earth had somehow moved, not in orbit, but in space itself, now positioned between the Confederation fleet and the sun. Massive structures had appeared around the planet, clearly artificial but unlike anything in known science. "This is Admiral Jack Morrison of the Human Defense Fleet," came a new voice. "You boys just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. Nobody threatens Earth twice." What followed could barely be called a battle. The humans deployed weapons that defied comprehension, ships that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, projectiles that traveled backward through time to strike targets before being fired, energy beams that somehow increased in power the further they traveled. The dreadnought fleet lasted exactly 17 minutes. Morrison's voice reached every surviving Confederation vessel as they fled in terror. "Here's how this works now, friends. You're going to go home and tell everyone that Earth is off limits, permanently. Any Confederation ship that enters our solar system gets turned into spare parts. Any Confederation world that threatens us gets a personal visit from our diplomatic corps." 3 months later, Ambassador Veltar sat in a detention center on Nexus Prime, awaiting trial for the greatest military disaster in Confederation history. The charges included incompetence, failure to assess enemy capabilities, and somehow managing to provoke a species that had just revealed itself as the most dangerous force in known space. The humans had kept their word about diplomatic visits. Confederation worlds that had supported the invasion now hosted permanent human embassies, staffed by terrifyingly polite humans who somehow knew everything about local politics, economics, and military capabilities. Trade agreements heavily favoring Earth were signed with suspicious enthusiasm by local governments who seemed suddenly very eager to please their new human neighbors. Veltar's cell door opened, and General Kane walked in, wearing civilian clothes and carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might want to know how this ends," Kane said, offering Veltar a cup. "Your government just signed the Sol Accords. Earth is now officially recognized as an independent protectorate with full territorial rights extending to a 50-light-year radius around our system." Veltar's 4 eyes drooped with defeat. "How? Your species was barely space-capable when we first detected you. How did you develop such impossible technology so quickly?" Kane smiled and took a sip of coffee. "Who said we developed it? We've been playing dumb for centuries, waiting for someone stupid enough to give us an excuse to stop pretending to be primitive. Thanks for that, by the way." He stood to leave, then paused at the door. "Oh, and Veltar? Next time you want to conquer a planet, maybe do some basic research first. Any species crazy enough to split atoms just to see what happens probably isn't going to be impressed by your standard intimidation tactics." The door closed, leaving Veltar alone with the terrible realization that the Confederation had just learned why the galaxy's most dangerous predators often looked harmless until provoked. Somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, humanity smiled and returned to pretending to be just another young species, taking its first steps among the stars. The galaxy would never be the same.